I find that a lot of the time when I've finished hanging out with a bunch of my friends after, a bigger or medium kind of sized hangout for maybe a long time, maybe shorter kind of amount of time. Doesn't really matter. Either way, when I'm done and I'm finished with that, and I come back home and I'm back here in my room, I find that there's this sense of kind of melancholy and almost a sense of sadness that kind of flows over me because I start thinking about everything we everything we just kind of did, all the fun we just had, all the conversations we had, all that time I spent with these people that I really care about. And then I find myself getting caught in this cycle of being down and sad that it's over now, but also being glad that it happened in the first place and being able to look forward to more moments like that because I'm still friends with these people. I still have meaningful connections and relationships with these people, and I'm super grateful for that. And I'll flip flop between those two kind of emotions and thought processes. But it really gets me thinking that I really, and a lot of us tend to take our friends and our connections and our relationships for granted. I think no matter how much you kind of convince yourself that you're making the most of it in the moment all the time, it's difficult to keep track of the most you can do in the moment. Like, it's difficult to know that you're making the absolute most of a moment when you're in the moment until you're out of it. But then when it comes to that, how are you supposed to know if you're making the most of it or not? You can think, oh, I could have done this, I could have done that to have a better time. But I think as long as you were, happy and having a good time, I think you did make the most of it. But my point is, I feel as if maybe sometimes we don't take enough care to really think about that going into just maybe hanging out with a friend or developing a friendship or relationship with somebody. I think that if you're truly interested in someone, not even in just a romantic way, just like, oh, I would really like to be this person's friend. I think if you are really interested in someone, you should show that, no matter what kind of interest it is. You should show that because there's only two real outcomes, and it's one, they don't really mess with it, or they do and they like you for it. Now, I'm not gonna say that being really weird about being interested in someone is going to work. Like, if you're throwing yourself onto a person, like if you barely know them, or even if you do know them, but you're kind of being a little over the top, I'm not saying that if they don't like you, it wasn't meant to be. Like, I mean, you kind of did it to yourself there. I'm just saying if you're really being your true self and you're being your true self within reason, within the bounds of not being overarching and just overly aggressive with it, and the person doesn't like you for who you are, and you've genuinely given it your full, undivided just effort over a decent amount of time, then that person's not meant to be in your life. You need to focus your energy elsewhere. But I think if it goes the other way and that person does appreciate it, they appreciate your own insight, they appreciate what you think of them, they can reciprocate that. It's always a 50-50 with these things, and sometimes you have to leap and just take the chance. And I've been trying to place more emphasis on just telling people how I feel about them, whether it's a negative thing or a positive kind of thing, if no matter the connotation I have about them. And again, not in any kind of romantic way all the time, but just in general, just the way this person makes me feel. If I enjoy having them around, I'm going to tell them that I enjoy having them around. And if I feel that their presence is truly valuable to an environment and to a hangout, at least in my opinion, I'm going to tell them that. Because I think for so long in my life personally, I just didn't receive a lot of kind of positivity like that from the people around me, or earlier on in my life. Now it's all over the place, and I'm truly blessed for that. But in the past, it was never like that, and I found that it was a lot of me giving myself out without really receiving anything back. And I'm not saying that every relationship and friendship should be transactional, but there needs to be a kind of equalize. No, there needs to be a balance. You both need to be giving something all the time, in my opinion. And that's the best way it goes. That's the best way relationships go, in my opinion, is a good 50-50 balance. And, it's, again, you shouldn't see it as kind of like an obligation or anything, but just being true to the relationship or the friendship. Because I've found that through telling my friends and people that I hold near and dear to me, through just telling them how I'm feeling in the moment about them, about the situation we're spending time together with, and through just telling them my honest opinion, it makes me feel better, and it makes the person that I'm talking to more inclined to feel this kind of positive vibe related to me. When they see me, they'll think of better things. When they see me, they'll think, oh, like, that guy, he's really nice, or he does this, he's very charitable. And don't get me wrong, I don't do it for the self-image, and I don't do it for the image that they see me as, and I don't do it for them to think I'm nice. I do it because it makes me feel better, and I do it because I want to grow closer to these people, and I'd like to hold them close to me within my life for a good amount of time, so I want to keep them around. And my own way of doing that is just expressing my appreciation and my gratefulness, and just being upfront with them all the time, even if it's a negative thing. But it rarely ever is, because of the people I decide to surround myself with, and the way, all in all, the way I treat them, and the way I treat myself as well. But I think that really taking steps to creating these connections and creating these friendships and holding them as close as we can is just, it's nothing but a positive benefit for us, regardless of how we view some of the situations and problems that might come out of it. Me personally, I have been within the same kind of friend group since the ending of my grade 11 year in high school. I have been friends with these people since I was in elementary school. I knew almost all of these people in elementary school, and we were friends, but coming up to high school, we disconnected. And in grade 11, I took the step to try and reconnect, because I knew these were my people, and I knew I was surrounding myself with... I wasn't surrounding myself with terrible people at all, but I just knew that I didn't have a group yet. I didn't have that. So at the time, I wanted to branch out and try reconnecting with these people who I always hung out with and talked with for years on end in elementary, but I just for some reason stopped. And I did, and through that, I have gained so much life experience, and I have gone through all kinds of things, positive and negative, things that have made me cry my eyes out coming back home, and things that have made me just smile almost as wide as I ever have in my life when I come back home and think about it. And I've had these great moments with these people, and I've developed these amazing connections with these people, and they truly know me for who I am. I feel like it's just my entire self is splayed out for them to see, kind of. Obviously, I still have my own things that are unique to me and that I'd rather keep to myself, but on that level of connection, there's nothing that I haven't kind of given out. There's nothing that I haven't shown, and they're okay with that. And my friends are, in fact, I'd like to say they love it. You know, they'd rather me be the way I am all the time than try to cater myself to some sort of ideation of theirs or something. And all of us together as a friend group have kind of been passing that around between each other, and that's how we all kind of act with each other. And it's been very healthy for me. And through the new people that I meet, I always try to be as kind of outgoing as I can and honest with what I'm thinking in my head as I can. Because a lot of the time when you meet someone new, you're not really receiving any huge amounts of positivity. Not that you have to give out huge amounts of positivity, but I'm saying when somebody walks up to me and they start asking me questions and they start sharing their own kind of life, and we start talking about that and conversating, I start to feel kind of a connection building, and it generally makes me happier, and it makes me more inclined to talk to this new person more. And with existing friendships and relationships, I feel like we really need to take care to just be us, be open, be honest, and really hold these relationships close, because we never know when they're going to end. You could have a best friend that you've been super close friends with. You think of them as a sibling at this point, and then the next day it could end just like that, just as quick as it began. And not that I live in fear of things ending, and not that you should live in fear of things ending, but it's always important to approach these connections with a sense of just true intention, and just holding it as close as you can and preserving it as much as you can, because connections lead to more connections, and it leads to life experience. It's all around a positive. It leads to lessons. It leads to people having your back, people supporting you, people who truly care about your well-being. And I feel like people tend to forget, but we were tribal animals at the very beginning of our evolution. Like, we couldn't survive without our tribe, and nowadays I feel like people are just so disconnected from that. I feel like there's a fine line between having a lot of value in yourself and not needing to rely on people, and just being alone and not wanting to talk to people, or thinking you don't need anyone. Because at the end of the day, the way we are biologically comprised, the way we are made, the way we are wired, we are social animals, and no matter what we do, there's always going to be a group of people that we want to go to talk to all the time. There's always going to be one person that we want to talk to all the time. And there's always going to be this sense of relief and happiness when we're in a circle of people that we appreciate. And truly, I think very early on in my life too, I've kind of found my own tribe. I've found my own group of people. And, day in and day out, I get to know new people, and I get to form new connections. Doesn't matter how strong they are in the moment. I have my very strong, well-built connections already, but I don't mind more, but I don't mind not making any more. But the goal is always to make more, but not in the sense where I need a huge social circle. I feel like you should always have a small, well-connected group rather than a loosely connected giant circle. I don't like that. But yeah, I think about it, and I think about all the value that's come to my life just through cherishing connections and cherishing friendships and cherishing relationships in my life, no matter how big or small. Like, it's, in the grand scheme of things, it's all led up to who I am now, and I'd like to think who I am now is a pretty good version of myself. So, just put yourself out there. Even if it's with some friends you've known for years, but you think you've never really truly had like a very deep, serious talk with them, just go ahead, man. Just try and have that talk. try and speak with them, and it'll just open up so many more doors. It'll show so many more things to you that you never even knew were there, and it'll teach you so much about yourself. But yeah, strive to create meaningful connections, relationships, friendships, and strive to hold them as close as you possibly can. Because at the end of the day, I feel like a big part of the backbone in our lives, the backbone holding up our life, is the people we decide to keep in it. And that's not the most profound thing ever, but people are important. Connections are important. And they will do nothing but benefit your life. And I think we should keep that in mind all the time. Yeah, anyway, that's it. I will be getting an actual mic soon, so I won't be having to use my phone's mic all the time. Well, I'll be getting an adapter for an existing mic, but it's whatever. We'll still be using my phone for a camera because, I mean, whatever, it works fine. But yeah, bunch of stuff on the way. I'm conjuring things up. But for now, it's just peace.